It finally happened. After 233 years, the United States government has quietly flipped the switch. As of November 2025, the minting of new pennies for circulation has stopped. But here's the secret they aren't telling you on the evening news. While millions of Americans are rushing to dump their jars of worthless zinc change, savvy collectors are doing the exact opposite. Because buried in that pile of copper and zinc is a specific date range that is about to skyrocket in value. If you have this specific 3.1-gram powerhouse, you aren't holding spare change, you are holding a retirement plan. Today, we are exposing the penny ban of 2026. Coin hunters, treasure seekers, and history lovers today, you are about to step into a world where a simple brown 1-cent coin, hiding in old jars, drawers, and forgotten pockets, can quietly carry stories of American history, mystery, and serious money. Value, this is not hype, this is not a joke, this is the real, untold story of the 1960 Lincoln penny, a coin millions of people have seen, but almost nobody truly understands, because while most 1960 pennies are common, a few rare examples, errors, varieties, and conditions can turn this everyday coin into something collectors aggressively search for and pay. Strong money to own, so before you scroll away, before you ignore that pile of old cents, take a breath, because what you are about to hear could change the way you look at every penny forever. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909, was created to honor President Abraham Lincoln, and by 1960 America was changing fast. The post-war boom, television cars, suburbs, and the space race were reshaping daily life, and the penny in your hand was struck right in the middle of that powerful era, the 1960 Lincoln penny features the classic wheat-free memorial reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, which debuted in 1959, making the 1960 penny part of the very first years of the Lincoln Memorial design. That alone gives it historical importance, because collectors love first-era coins, especially when they mark a transition in American coinage. Now, let's talk mints, because this is where things start. Getting interesting in 1960, pennies were produced at two main mints, Philadelphia and Denver. Philadelphia pennies carry no mint mark, while Denver pennies show a small D under the date, and both were minted in massive numbers, over 1 billion coins combined, which is why most 1960 pennies you find are worth only face value but do not lose focus. Because rarity is not always about how many were made, it is about how many survived in special conditions, and with special mistakes. One of the biggest reasons the 1960 Lincoln penny is so famous among collectors is the existence of two different date styles, the small date and the large date. This subtle difference in the size and shape of the numbers, especially the 0 in 1960, creates two distinct varieties, and collectors absolutely chase these differences. The small date version is scarcer and more desirable, particularly in high-grade condition, and especially from the Denver Mint. When a 1960 D small date penny is found in uncirculated or near perfect red condition, values can climb fast from a few dollars to tens and even hundreds of dollars depending on grade and eye appeal. Now let's go deeper, because errors are where the real excitement lives. The 1960 Lincoln penny is known for several collectible mint errors, including doubled die obverse coins, where the date and lettering appear doubled due to a misalignment. During the minting process, these doubled die pennies are highly sought after and can sell for strong prices, because they are dramatic, visible, and undeniable. Another error collectors hunt is the repunched mint mark, where the DI mint mark was struck more than once, creating a shadow or doubled appearance. These repunched mint marks add uniqueness and collector value. Even though they were once seen as mistakes, today they are celebrated as pieces of mint history. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchettes are also found on 1960 pennies, and each error tells a story of a machine problem, human adjustment, or metal flaw inside the mint, and collectors love owning a coin that escaped quality control. Now, condition matters more than almost anything. A worn brown circulated 1960 penny is common, but a blazing red uncirculated example with full luster-sharp details and no marks is a different story. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC assign grades, and when a 1960 SPI hits the highest levels, such as MS67 or higher, prices can jump dramatically, sometimes reaching hundreds or even thousands of dollars. because registry set collectors compete fiercely for the best-known examples. Copper composition also plays a role, because the 1960 penny is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it intrinsic metal value and a solid feel that modern zinc pennies lack. Many collectors prefer these older copper cents because they represent the end of an era before rising copper prices changed U.S. coinage forever. So every 1960 penny carries not just monetary potential, but also physical historical weight. Now imagine this scenario. You open an old family box inherited from a grandparent. You see dull brown pennies mixed with a few brighter ones. You almost ignore them, but one catches your eye. The date reads 1960, the mint mark shows a D, and the numbers look slightly smaller than usual. This could be a small date variety, and if the coin still has red color, minimal wear, and clean surfaces, you may be holding a coin that collectors want badly. This is why coin roll hunting estate finds and old collections continue to produce exciting discoveries every year, because these coins were once everyday money. Nobody protected them, nobody imagined they would matter, and yet today they are studied, graded, and auctioned across the country. The 1960 Lincoln penny proves that value is not always obvious at first glance. Sometimes it hides quietly, waiting for the right eyes, the right knowledge, and the right moment. So the next time someone tells you pennies are worthless, remember this story. Remember the 1960 Lincoln cent. Remember the small date, the errors, the history, the copper, the collectors, and the hidden value, and never underestimate the power of a single cent. If you want the full extended 2-hour deep dive with more stories, real auction prices, grading tips, and how to check your own coins type, continue, and I will keep going non-stop. Everyone, today we are diving into one of the most exciting treasures hiding in plain sight, the 1963 Lincoln penny. This small copper coin might look ordinary, but some rare versions are worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And in this video, we are going deep into the history, the rare errors, the highest auction prices, and how you can spot a valuable 1963 penny in your own pocket change. So make sure you stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will never look at a penny the same way again. The year 1963 was a powerful and emotional year in American history. It was the final year of President John F. Kennedy's life. It was a time of change, hope, and tension, and millions of Lincoln pennies were struck during this historic period. These coins carry more than just 1 cent of value. They carry history, and sometimes they carry serious money. 1963 Lincoln penny was produced at 2 mints, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. If your coin has no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. If it has a small D under the date, it was made in Denver. Both versions were made in huge numbers. But rarity is not only about mintage numbers. Rarity is about condition and error. In 1963, over 3 billion pennies were struck in Philadelphia, and more than 1 billion were struck in Denver. That sounds common, and it is, but here is where things get interesting. Finding one in average worn condition is easy, but finding one in mint state condition with blazing red luster is a completely different story. Collectors pay strong money for coins graded Ms. 65, Ms. 66. And Hirono, let us talk about composition. The 1963 penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This gives it that rich, red-brown color. When it is freshly struck over time, copper reacts with air and moisture and begins to tone, turning brown or dark chocolate in color. Collectors use 3 main color categories: red, red, brown, and brown, and the red examples are always worth the most. 1963 penny in circulated condition might only be worth a few cents, but in uncirculated red condition, the value jumps dramatically. Coins graded Ms. 65 red can sell for $50 to $100, and if you find a superb gem Ms. 67 red, it could sell for several $100s. At auction condition is everything, but what really excites collectors are errors and varieties, and the 1963 penny has some fascinating ones. One of the most talked about is the doubled die error. A doubled die happens during the hubbing process when the design is impressed onto the die more than once, slightly misaligned. This creates visible doubling on the letters, numbers, or datian. A genuine doubled die 1963 penny, you might see strong doubling on Liberty, in God We Trust, or on the date itself, these coins can sell for hundreds, depending on strength and condition. But be careful, many coins show machine doubling, which is different, and much less valuable. Machine doubling looks flat and shelf-like, while true doubled die doubling has rounded, separated. Letters. Another error to look for is off-center strikes. Sometimes a blank planchette is not properly seated in the press, and the design is struck off-center. If the date is still visible, these coins can sell for $50 to several $100s, depending on how dramatic the off-center strike is. There are also die cracks, die breaks, and cut errors. A cut error appears as a raised blob of metal along the edge of the coin, where part of the die broke away. These errors are collectible and can bring strong premiums, especially if the cut is large and obvious. Let us talk about grading, because grading determines the real value of your 1963 penny coins. Are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect. A coin graded Ms. 70 would be flawless under magnification. But most coins fall far below that level. For a 1963 penny to reach Ms. 67 or higher, it must have full original luster, no major marks, and sharp strike. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC certify coins and place them in protective holders. This gives buyers confidence and usually increases value if you believe you have a high grade. Red 1963 penny, it may be worth submitting for grading, but always compare the cost of grading with the potential value. Let us look at some real auction results. High-grade 1963 pennies, graded Ms. 67 red, have sold for over $500, and in rare cases close to $1,000. If the coin has exceptional eye appeal, strong strike, and vibrant color, the price climbs even higher. Collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples. Imagine finding one in a roll of old bank wrapped pennies or in a jar passed down from a family member. It happens more often than people think. Many collections are still sitting in drawers across America, waiting to be discovered. Another interesting area is proof coins. In 1963, the Philadelphia Mint also produced proof pennies. Specifically for collectors, these coins have mirror-like fields and sharp details. If you see a 1963 penny with a deep mirror shine and no mint mark, it could be a proof coins. In high grades with cameo contrast can sell for strong premiums, especially deep cameo. Handle coins carefully. Hold them by the edges. Never clean. A coin cleaning destroys value instantly. Even a rare coin can lose most of its worth if it has been improperly cleaned. Collectors prefer natural surfaces, even if they show ages. How do you check your 1963 penny? First, look at the date and mint marks. Second, examine the color. Is it red, red-brown, or brown? Third, inspect for errors like doubling off center strikes or die cracks. Fourth, evaluate the condition. Are there heavy scratches? Or is the luster bright and original? Finally, consider having valuable pieces. Gradefty. Thrill of coin collecting comes from the hunt. Every penny you check could be the one that changes everything. The 1963 Lincoln penny may be common in numbers, but in top condition or with rare errors, it becomes a true treasure. And remember, coin values change with market demand, copper prices, collector interest, and auction competition all influence prices. Staying informed and studying recent sales will give you the edgiest. We continue this deep dive into the 1963 Lincoln penny. We will explore more about how to store coins properly, how to build a collection, how to spot fake errors, and how to turn a simple hobby into a profitable passion, because sometimes the smallest coin carries the biggest opportunity. Most wanted USA old coins. Valuable 1-cent Lincoln penny 1964. This is not a joke. This is not clickbait. And this is not one of those ordinary pennies you ignore every day. This is the penny that could be hiding in plain sight in your pocket, your drawer, your old jar of coins, or even in a forgotten box passed down through your family. And today, we are diving deep into why the 1964 Lincoln penny has become one of the most searched, most talked about, and most misunderstood 1-cent coins in American history. Imagine holding a simple brown copper penny that most people would spend without thinking twice, but collectors around the world are hunting certain versions of this coin, willing to pay serious money for the right details, the right condition, and the right story behind it. And what makes the 1964 Lincoln penny so special is not just one reason, but a perfect storm of history. Metal composition, minting errors, collector demand, and long-standing myths that refuse to die. The year 1964 sits right in the middle of a powerful era in American coinage. The United States was producing massive amounts of coins for everyday use. Copper prices were rising, people were saving coins, and rumors were spreading fast and right. In the center of all this stands the Lincoln Memorial Penny, designed by Victor David Brenner with Abraham. Lincoln's strong profile on the front and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the back, a design that millions saw every day but few truly studied closely, and that is where the real treasure begins, because value is not just about age, and the 1964 penny is not rare in general, but rarity is not the same as value, and collectors know. This, the 1964 penny, was struck in enormous numbers at both the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, meaning millions, entered circulation. But among those millions, a tiny percentage stand out, and those are the coins that change lives. Condition is everything. And when we say condition, we mean coins that survive decades without heavy wear, coins that still show sharp details on Lincoln's hair coins, with full steps visible on the memorial coins with original red copper luster glowing like it was struck yesterday. And when a 1964 penny survives in mint state, especially in red condition, collectors pay attention, serious attention, because these coins were made to be used, not saved, and every year that passes makes high-grade examples harder to find, and then we step into the world of errors and varieties, the secret world that separates casual coin owners from real collectors. This is where the 1964 Lincoln penny becomes exciting. Doubled die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, and planchette errors. All of these can turn a 1-cent coin into a 3-figure or even 4-figure collectible, and most people never look closely enough to notice them. A doubled die obverse can show strong doubling on the date, the word liberty, or in God we trust, and when that doubling is bold and clear, the value can jump dramatically. Some error pennies from this year have sold for hundreds of dollars, simply because the mint made a mistake, and mistakes are gold in the coin world. And then there is the metal composition angle. The 1964 penny is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, making it a solid, heavy copper coin, unlike modern zinc pennies, and that alone adds interest, because copper prices fluctuate, and collectors love classic copper pennies with weight, substance, and history. And over the years, myths have exploded around the idea of a rare 1964 aluminum penny or special experimental strikes. While most of these stories are rumors, they keep attention locked on this date, keeping demand strong, and demand drives value. And let us talk about mint marks, because the presence or absence of a small letter can change everything. A 1964 penny with no mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia, while a small D means Denver, and while neither is rare in low grades, high-grade Denver pennies are tougher than people realize, especially in blazing red condition graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. And when a 1964 penny is certified, graded, and encapsulated, collectors trust it more and pay more, and auction records prove it high-grade. 1964 pennies have sold for hundreds, and in rare cases over $1,000, depending on color strike and eye appeal. And this is why people search through rolls, boxes, and collections, hoping to spot that one perfect coin, because the difference between 1 cent and serious money is knowledge, patience, and a sharp eye. And this is why the 1964 Lincoln penny continues to dominate search results, continues to spark debates, continues to fuel dreams, because it represents the idea that treasure can still be found in everyday places. And that is powerful, that is exciting. And that is why you should never underestimate a small brown penny again. Let us slow down and really understand why collectors lose their minds over small details on the 1960 Lincoln penny, because this is where casual viewers turn into subscribers, and where curiosity turns into obsession. When you hold a 1964 penny in your hand, you are not just holding copper, you are holding a snapshot of America in the mid-1960s, a time of massive change, civil rights, space race, economic growth, and everyday Americans using coins like this to buy coffee, newspapers, and candy. And most of those pennies lived hard lives, scraped across counters, dropped on sidewalks. tossed into jars and forgotten, which is exactly why untouched examples matter so much today, because survival is rarity and rarity is value. Collectors grade coins on a strict scale, and even a tiny scratch or dull surface can make the difference between a common penny and a premium. Collectible, a 1964 penny graded MS65 red, can be worth many times more than the same coin with light wear. And that red color is key red, means the coin still has its original mint luster, that bright, fiery copper glow that fades quickly once exposed to air moisture and handling. And most pennies lose that color fast, so finding a 1964 penny still blazing red after decades is like finding a time capsule. Now, let us talk about something that really hooks viewers era hunting. Imagine telling your audience that the most valuable 1964 pennies are the ones the mint messed up because perfection is boring but mistakes are rare. And exciting doubled die errors are at the top of the list when a die was misaligned during the hubbing process. The result is doubling that looks like a shadow or echo, especially on the date 1964, the word liberty, and in God we trust. Strong, clear doubling that you can see with the naked eye or a simple magnifier is what collectors dream of, and some of these doubled die 1964 pennies have sold for hundreds of dollars, even in circulated condition, and then there are off-center strikes where the design is shifted, leaving blank space on one side of the coin. These are dramatic visual errors, and the more off-center, while still showing the date, the more valuable they become. And then you have broad strikes where the coin spreads out wider than normal because the collar failed during striking, creating a fat penny that instantly grabs attention, and valuity cracks are another sleeper category. Cracks, lines, or raised metal caused by damaged dies can run across Lincoln's face, the date, or the memorial, and some collectors specialize in dramatic die breaks and cuds, where chunks of the die broke away, creating raised blobs of metal. And then there are planchette errors, pennies struck on the wrong metal, wrong thickness, or with incomplete blanks. These are rare, but they exist, and when they show up, dated 1964, collectors pay close attention, because this year is heavily collected and researched, and every confirmed error gets documented, discussed, and chased. And this is where storytelling becomes powerful, because you are not just showing a coin, you are showing a mystery, a factory accident, frozen in copprend. Then comes grading and certification. A raw coin might look amazing, but once it is sent to PCGS or NGC and comes back in a slab with an official grade, the value can multiply, because trust matters in this hobby and registry set. Collectors compete to own the finest known examples, pushing prices higher and higher for top population coins. And auction results prove it again and again. High-grade 1964 Lincoln pennies, especially red examples from Denver, have sold for impressive amounts, and when a new record happens, it reignites interest and sends thousands of people back to their coin jars. Now, we have to address the rumors, because rumors keep viewers watching. There have been long-standing stories about special 1964 pennies, experimental metals, secret strikes, and coins that were never supposed to leave the mint. While most of these stories are exaggerated or misunderstood, they keep the legend alive. And legends create demand, and demand keeps prices strong and even normal. 1964 pennies benefit from that attention because more people are looking, more people are learning, and more people are collecting hand. This is the perfect moment in the video to tell viewers what to look for. First, condition. Color, mint, mark, error details, weight, and sound. Yes, sound, because copper pennies ring differently than zinc, and experienced collectors can tell instantly, and telling viewers to slow down, examine their coins under good light with a magnifier instantly boosts engagement, because now they are part of the hunt. And just when viewers think they understand the 1964 penny, you pull them deeper, because there are minor varieties, subtle differences in lettering, spacing, and strike quality that advanced collectors notice and chase. And that means, even after decades, this penny is still being studied, still being discovered, still surprising people. And that is why it refuses to fade away. Most wanted USA old coins, valuable 1-cent Lincoln penny 1965. Listen closely, because what you are about to hear might completely change the way you look at the pennies in your pocket forever. This is not clickbait, this is not a joke, and this is not a story copied from somewhere else. This is real United States coin history, real collector demand, and real money. Hiding in plain sight for decades, today we are diving deep into one of the most misunderstood and most searched American coins of all time, the Lincoln penny, dated 1965 a year, surrounded by mystery rumors, collector myths, and shocking auction results. Most people think a 1965 penny is just common pocket change, something you throw in a jar or leave at a store counter, but experienced coin hunters know better because 1965 sits right at the edge of a historic metal transition, and that single fact alone makes this penny one of the most hunted modern Lincoln. Since in the United States Mint was under massive pressure in the mid-1960s. Coin shortages were everywhere. People were hoarding silver coins, and the government was scrambling to keep coins in circulation. 65, the Mint made critical changes not only to silver coins, but also to how pennies were produced, and that chaos created rare mistakes, rare compositions, and rare varieties that collectors dream about today. The standard 1965 Lincoln penny was struck in copper alloy, made mostly of copper with smaller amounts of zinc and tin weighing about 3.11 grams, but during this hectic period, errors happened, and when errors happen, value explodes. Some 1965 pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchettes. Some were struck with dramatic off-center designs. Some show doubled dies, so strong you can see doubling with the naked eye, and some were saved in pristine condition that today command surprising prices. This is where things get exciting, because the average person never checks their change for weight, never checks the edge, never looks closely at the letters in God. We trust or Liberty or the date itself, but serious collectors do, and that is why these coins keep slipping through hands unnoticed year after year. Imagine finding a penny worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars that most people would spend without a second thought. That is the reality with high-grade 1965 Lincoln pennies, especially those graded mint state 67 or higher by professional grading services. Those coins are extremely rare because pennies from that era were heavily circulated and rarely preserved perfectly. A flawless example with sharp strike, full red color, and no contact marks can sell for big money at auction. And when error varieties are involved, the numbers climb even higher. One of the most talked about 1965 penny errors is the off-metal strike, where a penny was accidentally struck on a silver planchette intended for a dime. These are incredibly rare and highly valuable because they prove a mint mistake that should never have happened. Another major variety is the double die obverse, where the lettering and date show clear doubling caused during the die creation process. This is not machine doubling, this is true doubled die, and collectors pay serious money for verified examples. Then there are broad strikes, clipped planchettes, and misaligned dies, each one telling a story of a moment inside the mint when something went wrong, and those mistakes are exactly what collectors love. Condition is everything. A circulated 1965 penny is usually worth 1 cent, but an uncirculated example with full original luster can be worth many times face value, and when certified at the top levels, it becomes a trophy coin for advanced collectors who compete fiercely to own the best examples. Registry sets drive prices higher every year because collectors want the finest known coins, and there are only so many to go around. That means demand keeps rising while supply stays locked away in collections. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse, introduced just a few years earlier, adds to the historical appeal because it represents a new era in American coinage, yet still uses the classic Lincoln portrait that people recognize instantly. This combination of familiarity and rarity is what makes the 1965 penny such a powerful coin for YouTube audiences, because viewers can actually go search their change jars after watching your video, and that creates engagement, excitement, and trust. If you are enjoying this deep dive, stay with me because we are just getting started. In the next sections, we will break down how to identify valuable 1965 pennies, step by step, how to weigh them, how to spot errors, how to avoid fake listings online, and how real collectors turn simple pocket change into serious profit without scams, without guesswork, and without expensive equipment. This is why the 1965 Lincoln penny remains one of the most wanted modern 1-cent coins in the United States, and why smart collectors never ignore a single penny dated 1965. Most people walk past it every single day. It sits quietly in old drawers, dusty jars, forgotten piggy banks, and even stuck Between couch cushions, a simple brown 1-cent coin that looks completely ordinary. But what if I told you that one specific Lincoln penny from 1966 could be worth more than a brand new car, more than a luxury vacation, and in some rare cases, even more than a small house? This is not a joke. This is not clickbait, and this is not one of those fake internet stories. This is real, documented, verified American coin history. And today, you are about to discover why collectors all over the world are desperately hunting for the 1966 Lincoln penny. Why some people accidentally spent a fortune at the grocery store, and how you could be holding a hidden treasure right now without even knowing it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will never look at a penny the same way. Again, welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the most wanted United States old coins, valuable pocket change, and unbelievable money hiding in plain sight if you love rare coins. Lincoln pennies, era coins, and stories where ordinary people discover extraordinary wealth. Then make sure you watch this entire video, because this one is special today. We are diving deep into the mysterious, powerful, and highly understood 1966 Lincoln penny, a coin that most Americans think is common, worthless, and boring, but collectors know the truth. Year 1966 sits in one of the strangest periods in U.S. coin history. America was changing. Money was changing, and the U.S. Mint was under massive pressure. Silver was disappearing, inflation was rising, and the government was rushing to keep coins in circulation during this chaotic moment. The Lincoln penny became more than just spare change. It became a product of rushed production, experimental minting, and silent mistakes that today are worth serious money. 1966 Lincoln penny does not even have a mint mark, and that alone confuses most people. No D, no S, just a date and Abraham Lincoln staring back at you. But that missing mint mark is not a flaw, it is part of the story. During the mid-1960s, the U.S. Mint intentionally removed mint marks to discourage coin hoarding. This decision created a massive wave of confusion and opened the door for rare variations, errors, and transitional strikes that collectors now dream about. Millions of 1966 pennies were made, but only a tiny fraction matter. Only a handful are the ones that can change your life. And the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth thousands of dollars comes down to details so small most people never even think to look. Are talking about strike quality metal composition, doubling errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchettes, and the legendary double die obverse varieties that can turn a regular-looking coin into a collector monster. Some of these coins have sold quietly at auction, others were found by accident, and some are still out there waiting to be discovered. Imagine this: you are cleaning out an old box from your parents or grandparents. You find a roll of pennies taped together decades ago. You almost throw it away, but something tells you to look inside, and there it is, a 1966 Lincoln penny with strange doubling on the date and lettering, sharp, bold details, and a color that looks just a little different. You send it in for grading, and weeks later, you get the call that coin is worth thousands of dollars. This has happened more than most people think. Valuable pennies ended in 1958 with the wheat reverse, but that belief has caused countless rare Lincoln Memorial pennies to be ignored, spent, and lost. The 1966 penny is one of the biggest victims of this myth because it looks modern, it looks common, and it looks boring, but collectors know better. Obverse features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that has survived wars, depressions, and cultural revolutions. On the reverse, we see the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of American strength and legacy. But uncertain 1966 pennies, these designs show doubling thickness, distortion, and spacing that should not exist, and that is where the value explodes. One of the most important things about the 1966 Lincoln penny is condition. A circulated, worn example is usually only worth face value, but a high-grade, uncirculated penny with full red luster can already be worth significantly more. And when you add a rare error or variety, the price can skyrocket into the thousands. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have authenticated multiple 1966 Lincoln pennies that sold for eye-opening amounts, especially those graded MS67 red or higher. These coins are nearly perfect, with blazing color, sharp strikes, and no visible wear, and only a handful exist. Let us talk about errors, because this is where things get wild. The U.S. Mint in 1966 was producing coins at an incredible speed, and when speed increases, mistakes follow. Doubled dies occur when the die itself is doubled during the hubbing process, creating visible doubling on the coin. This is not machine doubling, this is real collectible doubling, and collectors pay huge premiums for it. Some 1966 doubled die pennies shows strong doubling on the word, Liberty, the date, and even Lincoln's profile. These coins are extremely rare and often missed by inexperienced eyes because the doubling can be subtle, yet once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Off-center strikes are another jackpot. If the coin was not properly seated during striking, part of the design will be missing, and part of the blank planchette will be visible depending on how dramatic the error is. These coins can sell for hundreds or even thousands. Clipped planchettes happen when the metal strip is improperly cut before striking, creating a curved missing section on the coin. These errors are popular with collectors, and a clean clip on a 1966 penny can be very valuable. Cracks and cud errors are also common in this era, as dies were pushed far beyond their normal lifespan. A raised line, crack, or blob of metal on the coin might look like damage to the untrained eye, but to a collector, it can mean serious money. And then there is the metal itself. The 1966 penny should be made of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, but transitional planchette errors always lurk around periods of change, and any deviation in weight or color is worth investigating with a precise scale. This is why checking your change matters. This is why never dismissing pennies matters, and this is why the 1966 Lincoln penny deserves your attention.